Hi viewers and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is HP Fashions GY. In today's tutorial, we'll be learning on how to make this sweet and perfect top. So if this is your first time of turning to my YouTube channel, don't forget to like and subscribe, okay? So at this point now, I'll be taking the full length of the top, which is 24. I'll be using the full length of 24, okay? So I'll actually use the broken lines to get the full length 24 on my pattern paper. Then afterwards, I'll go ahead and connect this together, having everything in one piece, connecting them together, okay? So this is actually the full length of it. So I'll have to take my half length measurement. My half length measurement, I'll be using 16 inches for my half length, okay? So this is actually my half length. Then after getting this, I'll go ahead and connect them all together. Okay, so after getting the half length now, I'll go ahead and take my shoulder measurement of 17, then half inch for seam allowance, which is 17 and a half, then armhole depth of 8 and a half. All right, so armhole depth of 8 and a half. Then afterwards, I'll connect this together. Armhole depth of 8 and a half. Okay, so once this is done, this is my armhole length, this is my half length, and on that half length will be my waist measurement. Okay, all right, so this is exactly what we have. Then at this point now, I'll be taking my bust measurement divided by 4 with extra 1.5 inches allowance for seam allowance. Okay, then I'll take my waist measurement divided by 4, then the same 1.5 inches allowance. Okay, then I will connect this together. All right, so after this is done, I will have to connect my shoulder measurement, shoulder to the bust measurement. Then I will come up by 2 inches on this side, then connect my armhole measurement to this to connect the cuff. Okay, so at this point now, from the shoulder, I'll be going down by 21.5 inches, all right, on the side. Okay, 21.5 inches on the side. Afterwards, I'll have to connect this, leaving a little allowance like an A shape on the down part. Then while this is done, I'll have to connect this two together. I'll be using a free hand on this to connect it together. It's more like a basque waistline. Okay, so this is exactly what we have. So once this is done, I'll go ahead and cut it all out. I'll go ahead and trim out the traced pattern. Okay, so I'll go ahead and take it out from this side. So I'll actually cut this on the traced line. Okay, so I've gotten it, then I've folded my material, then I'll have to place my pattern paper right on top of my fabric. Okay, so at this point now, I'll be getting the back first. Then I'll just take exactly the shape of this. Okay, yeah, so I'll just have to cut this. This is actually the back. Okay, so I'll ensure to get exactly the shape. All right, so at this point now, I've gotten the back. Then this is actually for the front. I'll be using the neck wideness of 3 inches for the front. Neck wideness of 3 inches, then the depth, neck depth of 7.5 inches. Okay, all right, so at this point now, I'll be using 5 inches on this side. I'm marking 5 inches on the side. Then I'll connect it this way. All right, then after getting this, I'll be using wideness of 5 inches as well. Okay, so this is exactly what will happen. I'll just connect these two together. Okay, I'll just connect it together. Then I'll connect this side to the down part. Okay, I'm actually looking for a perfect way to do this perfectly. Okay, so I'll just have to turn my pattern paper this way and connect it this way. Okay, so this is the shape we have for now. All right, so after getting this, I'll have to mark the downside and connect it to the shoulder side of 3 inches. All right, this is exactly the shape of the neck of the dress I want after sewing it. Okay, this is how I want the neckline to look like after I'm done sewing. All right, so once this is done, I will just, this side is 5 inches, neck depth of 7.5 inches, wideness of the neck 3 inches. Okay, so I'll have to place it on my main fabric, use the pin to secure. At this time, not really exactly the way it is. I'll be leaving a little allowance at the front for zipper allowance. Okay, all right, so this dress actually has zipper allowance at the front. All right, so the idea was basically for nursing mothers who would still want to rock their normal outfits the way they used to before they give birth. Okay, so this is exactly what I have. I left about 1 inch for the zipper allowance on the front side. Okay, then I will take exactly the shape on the back side of the pattern paper. Then I will still leave a little bit allowance on the down part of the dress. Okay, more like a folding allowance. Okay, so I'll be leaving a little allowance of about 1/2 inch. Okay, so after this is done now, I'll go ahead and cut the neck out, but I'll extend the neck this way. I just crossed it this way, like an L shape on the downside. Okay, so I still maintain the same depth neck of 7 inches. Okay, so because it has zipper allowance, I'll have to get that shape like that. Then I took the shape this way and cut it all out like this. All right, so at this point now, I'll go ahead and slant my shoulder. Don't forget to do that. There's a reason for it. Okay, it helps the dress to relax perfectly on your body. Okay, so after this is done now, we'll go ahead and divide the dress, the front, into two. Remember, we did not divide the back into two. It's actually the front. So I'll go ahead and indicate my zipper allowance where it starts and finishes. Okay, so once this is done, I'll take off my pins from it. Then this is exactly how the neckline looks like when you spread open. This is what it looks like when you fold the zipper allowance out. This is exactly how it looks like for now. Okay, yeah, so this is what it looks like a Queen Anne neckline. So it's more like a Queen Anne neckline. All right, so this is the back neck. We'll be using a wideness of 3 inches, depth of 1.5 inches. Then connect. Then at this point now, from this side to the downside, we'll be using 8 inches. Okay, I want you to have a little opening at the back, so the depth opening is actually 8 inches. So I'll go ahead and divide through, then stop at that 8 inches point. Okay, I also slanted my shoulder. Okay, so this is exactly how it looks like. Okay, so this is actually my sleeve. Okay, length of 14, then my round sleeve and the armhole space for this. All right, so at this point now, I'm actually confirming my sleeve length. Okay, I made it 16, so after folding I should be getting 14 inches. So on this part now, I want a belt on the dress, so I'm just using this. I folded this fabric into two, then I'll go ahead and trim this out. Okay, so the wideness of this is actually 5 inches, then I folded into two, having a wideness of 2.5 inches. So I'll be dividing through. Okay, I want the belt to actually be long. Okay, so at this point now, look at it, 2.5 inches wide. All right, so I used the length of it, the length of 60. All right, so this is exactly what I have. Right, so on this part now, this is actually the neckline that we cut through. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and the slash it, because after sewing I'll have to place this pattern paper to the next space to ensure that it's exactly the same space I still have. Okay, all right, so this is what we have for this. All right, so this is the neckline. I've gotten my facing for the front. All right, so this is my facing. I'll be using it to turn the neckline for this front and also the back. I got the facing for the front and the back. Okay, so this is it. All right, so at this point now, I'll get pieces for this. All right, this one, the 15 inches, okay? So I'll be getting two of these that will serve as a rope for the neckline. So at this point now, I'll go ahead and fold the rope I got for the neckline. I said wideness of 2 inches and length of 15 inches. I'll fold it this way, then I will sew. Right at the tip, I'll sew right at the tip on this rope-like stuff I'm creating right now. So I will ensure to make my sewing very neat, okay, because the stitches will actually show, so it really has to be neat, okay. So once I'm done with this, I'll go ahead and take off the thread and take it off from the sewing machine. Then I will sew my rope, which I'll be using as my belt on this. All right, so that's, I'll be sewing the two of it. It's actually two, so I'll be sewing the two belts, and I've done the two rope I just sewed now. All right, so I'll just sew this two. After sewing this, I'll go ahead and turn it all up, give it a very nice press, okay, keep it aside so that when I want to attach it to the dress, it will be very easy for me to. All right, so at this point now, I'm just sewing this right at the tip because it actually has a measurement for this, okay. So this is it. I'll just go ahead and take it off from the sewing machine. Then I'll go ahead and turn it up from the other side. All right, so at this point now, I've turned it up and up. So this is the front of the dress. I'll be using this facing now to sew the neckline, okay. I'll be using it to sew the neckline, so I'll just place it where exactly the way I want it. Then I'll use my pin to secure it, so just pin it exactly the way I want. All right, and at this point now, I'll just indicate my zipper allowance, because it's on that zipper allowance now introduce my rope. I'll place it this way inside, all right, on the zipper allowance, just behind the zipper allowance, okay. All right, so at this point now, I'll use my pin now to secure it this way. Then I will sew right on the neckline. Right, I'll be using about half an inch to do this joining. It all depends on how you do your joining, but half an inch, I feel it's actually perfect and okay. Now if you can even use less than, but it shouldn't be too small so that it won't pull off. All right, so this is exactly what I did, and actually follow the shape of the neck exactly the way the neck is, like a Queen Anne neckline. So I will just follow the shape of the neck and sew right to the top, okay. All right, so at this point now, once this is done, I'll go ahead and notch this angle this side so that it will sit perfectly, okay. All right, so I'll take off my pins. Then I'll go ahead and top stitch on the facing side of the neckline. I'll also follow the shape of the neck while top stitching, okay, because it's very important. Don't just top stitch, rather follow the shape of the neck so that it will sit perfectly on the body. All right, so I followed the shape of the neck exactly the way the shape is, and I top stitched right on the facing side, not on the main fabric. All right, so after top stitching this is what I have at this point. I'll go ahead and take off all the excess thread out of the fabric. So I'll use my pin at this point now to secure it until I get to iron it, okay. All right, so I'll still use my pin just to hold it before I'll go ahead and give it a nice press. All right, so this is exactly what I have for this. I'll go ahead and make the second side of this for the other side of the front side. All right, so this is what it should look like when you're done sewing it, okay. So this is what we have. This is actually one side of the dress. So I'll go ahead and make for the second side of the neckline the same procedure, and also I will just still use my pin to secure this right now. I'll use my pin to secure it before I'll go ahead and sew. All right, reason is because I want everything perfectly. I wouldn't want it to shift. All right, so at this point now, I'll go ahead and place it. This is my zipper allowance, and I'll place it right behind the zipper allowance. Use the pin to secure it. Then I'll go ahead and sew this right at the tip of the neckline, using about half an inch to do this. Okay, I won't take more than that, or rather I would rather use less than half an inch to do this sewing. All right, so I'll just sew right on this side. We'll sew right on this neckline and sew to the end of it. All right, so if you notice, I'm actually following exactly the shape of the neckline. It's very, very important too. All right, don't just sew. So this is exactly what I did to achieve this nice or this beautiful neckline. All right, so I will still notch that side so that everything will sit perfectly. Okay, so I'm taking off my pin now to also top stitch at the on the side of the facing. All right, so actually I prefer top stitching. Top stitching actually helps the dress to sit perfectly on the body. It helps it to relax before you go ahead to give it a nice press. Okay, all right, so for me, I really love top stitching, so it really helps my dress to sit perfectly. All right, so this is exactly what I did on the neckline of this one. Okay, so this is it for the other side. So once you're done sewing, if you go ahead and iron it, give it a nice press. All right, but before I iron it, I also use my pin to actually hold it before I will go ahead to give a nice press. Okay, all right, so this is exactly how it looks like. The neckline is looking very neat and all right. I didn't use a bias to turn this neckline because I don't want a thread to show through the dress. I want everything to be inside, inside. I want everything to be neat. All right, so this is what I have for the neckline. I've actually pinned my zipper allowance together, and I've actually ironed the zipper allowance. All right, so this is what it looks like. All right, so this is actually the back, for the back side of the neck, the back side of the dress, sorry. So I'll actually use my facing to place this. If you notice, my facing doesn't have a divide. I did not divide it I did not put a cut through. All right, I will do that, but after I'm done sewing. Okay, so this will actually be a guide for the neckline because it's actually the same with the neckline and all. So I will just go ahead and sew the neckline first. I'll go ahead and sew the neckline. After sewing the neckline, then I'll also top stitch. Like I said, I'll also top stitch, but for now this is the neckline. I'm just sewing the neckline. Then when I'm done, I will notch the neckline so that it will sit perfectly. Okay, this notching actually is very good for, it helps the dress to sit perfectly, especially the side that have curves. Okay, so right now I'm actually top stitching on the facing side of my fabric. All right, I'm top stitching. Right after top stitching this dress, we won't stop right there. We're not going to stop right there. All right, so I'm done top stitching this dress. Remember, the dress, the back side of the dress has an opening that we need to cover up. Okay, so at this point now, I will just place this through and sew on the opening, one side of it. All right, so I'm sewing it right together. Then once I get to that point with chalk, then I'll turn it to the other side and seal it up. Okay, so this is exactly what we have at this point in time. All right, so this is what we am done with the dress, the back side of the dress. So I'll go ahead now and divide to slash it to so that the back will still be open. All right, so I'm actually dividing the turn up the facing, not the main fabric, because the main fabric is already open. All right, so this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. At this point, I'll go ahead and use my pin to secure this, then go ahead and give a nice press. Okay, so this is actually the back. This is how the back looks, so neat. All right, so I'll go ahead and use my pin to secure this. The reason why I'm using my pin to secure is for me to have a good ironing, right? It enables me to have a very good and neat iron exactly the way I want it. Okay, so that's why I'm actually using my pins to secure this. All right, so this is my belt. I'll go ahead and turn it up. After turning it up, I'll give it a very nice press. Okay, yeah, so I'm done turning it up, so I'll go and iron it now. All right, so this is actually the front. I placed the two together because I want to add up a dart. All right, but this dart I'm not cutting it through. All right, it's more like a princess dart, so I'm using wideness of 4.2. Then I will connect it to the shoulder line. All right, so I'll do the same thing on the other side and also the same thing at the back. Okay, so this dart I'm not dividing it. I won't cut it. I won't put the scissors on it. I'll just hold it on at the tip and sew right there. Okay, so this is exactly the method of the dart I want to use on this dress. All right, so this is exactly how I want it. All right, so at this point now I'll really hold it, make sure everything is balanced before I will go ahead and do the sewing. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Right, so at this point now I'm done with this. I'll go ahead and do for the other one, then also for the back side of the dress. Right, so this is for the other side of the dress. All right, so I actually use my chalk to indicate before I went ahead to sew. All right, so the chalk actually serves as a guide on what I'm about to do. All right, so this is how it looks like from behind, and this is how it looks like from the front. All right, so I'll go ahead and give it a very nice press. Okay, all right, so this is how the front looks like. So at this point now I've added my dart to the back of the dress. So at this point now I'll go ahead and attach the rope to the dress on the front side of the dress. I want to attach it, so I'm actually attaching it exactly the way I want it to be. All right, so after I'm done attaching this, I will use my pin to secure it first before I will go ahead and place on my machine to sew to secure it properly. All right, so once this is done now, I'll go ahead and trim out the excess. I'll go ahead and trim out the excess on the upper side of this. I'll go ahead and cut it out. All right, I'll cut the other one out as well. All right, because I've already gotten exactly what I want. So at this point now, place it on my sewing machine and just secure it. I'll just stitch it. So I'm done stitching the first one. I'll go ahead and stitch the second one. Okay, so I removed my pins gradually to avoid it breaking my sewing machine. So and my sewing needle, my machine needle. All right, so this is exactly how it looks like the two. So at this point now I'll go ahead and attach the back, the neck, the shoulder neckline together. All right, so I'm actually using the back to wrap the front, then I'll go ahead and sew the shoulders. All right, so this is exactly how I want it, and it looks more neater like this. All right, so this is exactly what it looks like, looking very neat. All right, so this is what I have at this point. So if you find this video very helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to share my videos. So this is what it looks like. All right, so at this point now I'll have to place the second one and do the second one as well. All right, so I will just use the back to wrap the front, and that's all. I'm done with the two. All right, so this is what we have at this point. This is how it looks like. All right, so at this point now I'll go ahead and pin up for shaping. Okay, I'll go ahead and shape this dress. So I've pinned it up and I've marked my measurement for shaping. All right, so on this side with my half length measurement on the waistline, I'll go ahead and insert my belt at that point on that side. All right, so I'll go ahead and insert my belt and I'll make sure that it's on that line. So I will insert the belt on the two sides. Okay, all right, I just want a belt on this dress because it actually looks beautiful as well. So after this is done, I'll go ahead and shapen the dress on both sides. Okay, so I've done shaping, and this is my round sleeve. I've connected my sleeve to my dress and I've folded it down. All right, at this point now I'll go ahead and introduce my front zipper. Okay, this is it. So I'll go ahead and sew on it. Okay, all right, so this is how it looks like, looking very beautiful, looking very nice. All right, so this is my belt. I'll go ahead and tie this belt behind because this is exactly how I wanted it to be. All right, so this dress is actually very simple, very easy to make. All right, this is how it looks like from behind, looking very simple and beautiful. All right, so tell me what you think about this dress in the comment section. See you in my next video. Bye.